Welcome to the continuation of respiration, where we are going to take a look at breathing and gaseous exchange. So in the previous video, we talked about respiration, the types of respiration, but here we're going to talk about breathing and gaseous exchange. So what is breathing? So breathing has different definitions depending on what type of an organism you're talking about. So if we're talking about terrestrial animals, that is animals that live on land, breathing is defined as the movement of air into and out of the lungs. Okay. Then for aquatic animals, which are animals that live in water such as fish, breathing is the movement of water into and out of the gill chambers. Then there's another term for breathing which is called ventilation. So if you see this word ventilation, just know that they're talking about breathing. So breathing involves two main stages. The first one is inspiration or inhalation, where air goes inside the living organism, and expiration or exhalation, where air comes outside, comes to the outside from the inside of the living organism. Then other than breathing, there is gaseous exchange, which is defined as the diffusion of oxygen into the blood and carbon dioxide out of the blood across a gaseous exchange surface. So gaseous exchange is the diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide, okay, across a gaseous exchange surface. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at different types of organisms, and we're going to concentrate on what is their gaseous exchange surface. Like, what's the gaseous exchange surface for humans? What's the gaseous exchange surface for trees? What's the gaseous exchange surface for insects? And what's the gaseous exchange surface for plants? Okay, so once we know the gaseous exchange surface, we're going to discuss how the gaseous exchange happens on a named gaseous exchange surface. Then for two organisms, to be specific, humans and fish, we're going also to take a look at how the various parts of their gaseous exchange system operate to make sure that there is exchange of gases between the environment and themselves. So before we can go any further, I emphasized on the gaseous exchange surface. So these gaseous exchange surface, which we're going to discuss, all of them have these common features. One, they have a large surface area to maximize the exchange of gases. Remember, the gaseous exchange, the gaseous exchange process is just the diffusion of gases. So what is one factor that increases the rate of diffusion? It is the surface area. So all of them have a large surface area so that there is more diffusion. Two, their surfaces are moist, meaning that they are not dry, they are watery in nature. Why are they so? So that gases are dissolved before they diffuse across the surface. For gases to participate in this diffusion, they have to dissolve in water. That's why these surfaces are not dry. They also have thin surfaces to minimize the distance of diffusion so that there is faster diffusion. Also, they are closely associated with a transport system to transport the gases to and from the gaseous exchange surface. So organisms have a transport system. For example, plants have the phloem, the xylem, which participate in transport. Humans have blood. Okay, so these gaseous exchange surfaces are somehow connected to the transport system, so that gases from the environment can be getting inside the transport system, so that the gases can be transported somewhere else. So this is the gaseous exchange system in humans, and we're going to start with that of humans. So there are many parts here, but we're just going to concentrate on the ones that I'm going to be mentioning. So of course, other than the nose and these other parts where air enters and leaves, the most interesting part is this one, the trachea, which of course carries gases towards the inside of the body and outside to the external environment. Okay, so the trachea, when it reaches here, it branches off into the bronchi. Okay, so this is a bronchi and this is a bronchi. So the bronchi, when it goes inside the lungs, these are lungs, this is a lung and this is a lung. So when the bronchi goes into the lung, it branches off into the bronchiole. Yeah, the pronunciation, you need to be skilled with your tongue. So bronchio or bronchiole. Okay, so these small root-like structures are the bronchioles. Okay, so the bronchioles are the ones that are connected to the gaseous exchange surface. The gaseous exchange surface are alveoli. So these alveoli, we're going to discuss them. They are at the end of the bronchioles. Okay, so other interesting parts are the rib cage. Okay, so the rib cage is made of ribs and muscles. Rib muscle. So when someone is saying mbamboyanga, this is my rib they mean, not that other my rib that you know. All right, so the muscles between each of the rib are in two types. There's one that is on the outside called external intercostal muscles. Then inside here, they are what are called internal intercostal muscles. So together they are intercostal muscles. It's just that there are two types, external and internal, which are inside. Then another interesting part is this rubber here. Okay, so this is a diaphragm. It's called the diaphragm. Okay, so there are muscles which are connected to this diaphragm, and it's a muscle. It's not a rubber like for tires and shoes. No, it's a muscle, but it behaves like a rubber. Okay, so there's a diaphragm here. Okay, so this diaphragm can relax and contract. Okay, just like the intercostal muscles, they can relax and contract. The rib cage can move outwards and inwards as you are breathing. The lungs can expand in terms of volume that is increasing in size, and also they can decrease in terms of volume. So the science is when the volume is increased, when the volume of the lungs increases, the pressure inside the lungs reduces as compared to the atmospheric pressure. So that's too much science there, but just know that when the lungs expand, the pressure inside reduces, and that's what makes air to come inside. Okay, so let's go a bit more clear to understand all these events that happen when someone is breathing. So we're going to discuss what happens to various parts as air moves inside the lungs or during inhalation, and what happens also during exhalation or during inspiration and also during expiration. Okay, so when you're about to breathe in, what happens? Okay, so first as air is to be forced into the lungs, the size of the lungs increases. Okay, so the volume of the lungs increase. When the volume of the lungs increase, the pressure in the lungs decreases, which sucks air from the external environment. Okay, so to accommodate for this increase, what happens is this diaphragm here has to contract. To contract is to become smaller. So it will become smaller. Normally it is curved like this. So when it contracts, it will straighten like this. Okay, it will straighten so that there's more room for the lungs. Okay, so other than that, the rib cage moves outwards. Okay, it will move outwards when you are breathing in. Okay, then what happens to the intercostal muscles. So the intercostal muscles behave in an opposite way. The ones that are outside the external intercostal muscles, they are going to contract, while the ones inside the internal intercostal muscles, they are going to relax. That's what happens when you are breathing in. Okay, so let me just do a recap. As you breathe in, the volume of the lungs increases, the pressure in the lungs decreases. The diaphragm relaxes, the diaphragm contracts, the rib cages moves outwards. Then for the intercostal muscles, the external ones, they are going to contract, while the internal ones are going to relax. The opposite happens during expiration when you're breathing out. When you're breathing out, the volume of the lungs decreases, hence the pressure in the lungs increases so as to push air outside. Also, this diaphragm here is going to curve upwards so that it pushes or it squeezes the lungs to push air outside. Okay, then what about the rib cage? The rib cage will also move inwards so as to force the air out of the lungs. What about the intercostal muscles? The intercostal muscles are going to behave in an opposite way. The ones outside this time are going to relax, then the ones inside are going to contract. So this shouldn't be difficult for you to remember because this is what happens in your body. I don't remember ever in my life mastering what happens to which part. Of course, for the intercostal muscles, I remember, yes, I had to master. But for other things, the evidence is on my body. So when a question comes for breathing in, I could just breathe in. Then I say, oh, the rib cage have moved outwards. Okay, meaning that the lungs inside have expanded. Okay, meaning that the diaphragm here has contracted. Okay, because if it is relaxed, it's going to push air outside. So for air to come inside, it has to contract. Okay, so that's how to get this one. So just to put everything in a table so that we are on the same page. So inspiration, this happens. Expiration, this happens. So I'll do a quick recap. Diaphragm during inspiration contracts and moves downwards, while during expiration relaxes and moves upwards. External intercostal muscles, they contract, while they relax during expiration when you are breathing out. Internal intercostal muscles do the opposite. They relax, then here they contract. The rib cage, when you're breathing in, moves upwards and outwards, while the during expiration moves downwards and inwards. Volume of the lungs increases, decreases. Pressure in the lungs decreases than the atmospheric pressure. The atmospheric pressure is the pressure outside. Well, during expiration increases, meaning that it becomes higher than the atmospheric pressure. Where does air flows? It flows in the lungs during inspiration and out of the lungs during expiration. So this is the information here. So if a question comes, make sure that you get everything. So now we're going to take a look at the composition of inspired and expired air. What gases makes up inspired air and what gases makes up expired air. So for inspired air, the air that you breathe in, it has oxygen, a lot of it, 21% oxygen. Then it has a bit of carbon dioxide. Then nitrogen is just like the main component of the air we breathe in. Okay, don't forget this. At some point, we'll be doing ecology. This point is going to become very vital. Then there's also water vapor, which changes depending on the amount of water in the atmosphere. Okay, for example, in the rainy day, in the atmosphere, it's a little bit humid. It means that it has a bit of water, so maybe the value here can be high. So in short, it varies. Then there are also some other gases which are in traces, just small ones. Then also expired air, when we breathe out, we do breathe out a bit of oxygen, not as much as in inspired air, just a small percentage. Then there's too much carbon dioxide as compared to the one that we breathe in. Okay, nitrogen does not change. Then water vapor, in the air we breathe out, there's too much water vapor. That's the reason why if you breathe on a window pane, you're going to see water condensing. It's because of the water vapor you're breathing out. Then for the other gases, they're just traces, very small. So next we look at the gaseous exchange surface in humans, which is called the alveoli. So this is the structure of the alveoli. So it's like this. Then it is connected to the blood capillary. Okay, the blood capillary is where blood passes. So oxygen enters and carbon dioxide leaves. So as blood is coming, it's going to leave carbon dioxide. Then as it is going, it's going to pick oxygen. Carbon dioxide and oxygen are going to be diffusing here. Okay. So if a question comes, what makes the alveoli adapted to its function, that is gaseous exchange? Remember the common features that I mentioned: large surface area. We also talked about mass surfaces. We talked about this part being thin so that the gases can easily diffuse. Okay, and also the fact that it is closely connected to the transport system. So we're going to finish breathing and gaseous exchange in humans by discussing smoking. So what are the effects of smoking on the respiratory system? So cigarette smoke contains three major toxic substances: nicotine, tar, and carbon monoxide. So of these, tar is the most dangerous, but even these others are dangerous. So tar is responsible for causing respiratory diseases, which some of us we call all types of respiratory diseases as cough, but actually there are types of cough. So let's take a look at them. So the first is called bronchitis, which has to do with the bronchi. Okay, so in bronchitis, the bronchi are inflamed, the inside is inflamed. So when the inflammation of the air passage happens, that's when you have bronchitis. How does it come about? So what happens is tar immobilizes the cilia, causing mucus to accumulate in the air passage. To immobilize is to stop the movement. Okay, remember the cilia is that cell which has hair-like strands that move back and forth to sweep mucus across the air passages. So when these cilia have stopped that movement, the mucus will stop moving and will be stuck. When the mucus has stopped moving and is stuck, it's going to accumulate. So what happens? So what happens when the mucus has accumulated? It gives chance to the germs in the mucus to infect the lining of the air passages, causing cough. So here's what happens. Mucus, its job is to trap the germs. Now, if it stops moving, the germs that have been trapped inside the mucus attack the lining of the air passage. Okay, so as a result, person starts coughing, so that mucus maybe can be pushed out. So the overall effect of the bronchitis is that it reduces the amount of oxygen reaching the lungs. So the other one is emphysema. So this is the weakening and bursting of the alveoli. So the alveoli are weakened and bursted. So when tar reaches the alveoli, it weakens them and irritates them. This irritation causes coughing, which makes the alveoli burst. So once they're irritated, you are going to cough, and when you cough, you are burning the alveoli. So emphysema reduces the surface area available for gaseous exchange, just like bronchitis. Bronchitis reduces the amount of oxygen reaching the lungs because the respiratory tract, or where oxygen is supposed to pass, is they are trapped. Well, emphysema just reduces the surface area for gaseous exchange because it destroys the alveoli. The last one we're going to study is lung cancer. So there are many actually these diseases, but we're going to discuss just these three. So lung cancer is an abnormal division of cells in the lungs. So smoking increases the risk of lung cancer because tar, which is present in cigarette smoke, is a carcinogen. A carcinogen is anything that causes cancer, or it is a cancer-causing agent. Okay, so this tar is a cancer-causing agent, and if it is present in the lungs, it's going to cause lung cancer. So next we go to insects, studying cockroaches and grasshoppers. Sorry, we're not going to study cockroaches, we're just studying the general gaseous exchange system in insects. So insects breathe using what is called the tracheal system. Humans use the respiratory system, but insects use the tracheal system. So this is how the tracheal system looks like. Okay, I'm just looking for my pointer. All right, here it is. So at the outside body of the insect, there are these small holes which are called spiracles. These small holes move till they branch or they meet this, which is called the trachea. Okay, remember the trachea in humans also. So there are first spiracles, then trachea. Okay, then the trachea now has these branches which are called tracheal. Okay, the trachea are the ones that are connected to the tissue cells where the gases are needed and where the gases that need to be exhaled outside the insects are generated. Okay, so insects don't have a blood system like us, a transport system which has blood. So they breathe using diffusion. So gases diffuse from the external environment into these tissue cells, and from the tissue cells to the external environment using the tracheal system, which is made of the spiracle, the trachea, and of course the tracheal. Next we go to fish. So gaseous exchange in a bony fish occurs across the surface of the gills. So a bony fish, of course, we're talking about fish that have bones. Do you know any fish that has bones? A carpenter, does it have bones? Yes, the minga. Those, I don't know what's the word for. Yeah, they are bones. They are bones. I thought the English word for them is thorns. So I've realized now that actually they are bones. There is no another word for them. If there is, I stand to be corrected. So yeah. So any fish that has bones, has this system which depends on gills for gaseous exchange. So this is a gill chamber system. On this side, they are what are called gill rakers. So gill rakers are like a rake we used to clean the yard. They make sure that dust or sandy particles that are in water are trapped. Okay, then the gill rakers are connected to this arc here, which is called the gill arc or gill bar. And these are not jokes what we are studying here. When I was in grade 12, I think mock exams, this was the practical. They brought a gill like this, then we're supposed to label the parts like an actual gill. We are supposed to say these are gill rakers, this is the gill bar, this is the gill filament, and the likes. Okay, so on the other side of the gill bar, we have the gill filaments. Okay, so these are the gill filaments. So each gill filament has what is called a lamella. So gaseous exchange also, water will come here, it will pass, but the actual surface for gaseous exchange, of course, the one that we call the gaseous exchange surface, for which in humans it is an alveoli. In fish, it's a structure called a lamella. So at the end of a gill filament, there is what is called a gill lamella. Plural is lamellae with e at the end, but if it's one, it's lamella. Okay, so water enters the fish through the mouth and leaves through an opening called operculum. So here we're going to study what happens to the body of the fish during inspiration and expiration. So during inspiration, the flow of the mouth, which is more like the tongue, but of course fish don't have tongues, is lowered. When it is lowered, the mouth opens. When the mouth opens, the operculum closes so that the water shouldn't quickly leave the fish. So the operculum where water leaves closes when the mouth opens. Okay, so when this happens, the volume of the mouth and gill chamber increases. Okay, then the pressure in the mouth and gill chambers, just like in humans, when the volume increases, the pressure decreases and water enters the gill chamber. Then during expiration or expiration, when the fish has to breathe out, the floor of the mouth is raised and the mouth closes. This gives or makes the operculum to open, and the volume of the mouth now is going to decrease, resulting in the increase in pressure, and water is going to leave the gill chamber. Okay. Finally, we take a look at gaseous exchange in plants. Okay, so the gaseous exchange surface in plants is the spongy layer of the leaf. So this is the common leaf the structure of the common leaf that we have been studying, with on top having wax, cuticle, upper epidermis, and the likes. So photosynthesis, of course, occurs in the polycid, but gaseous exchange occurs here in the spongy layer. Okay, so of course, gases enter or leave the leaf through the stoma, and when they do that, they are going to go into the spongy layer where the spongy cells are. And again, as you can see, the spongy cells are connected to the transport system, the xylem and the phloem. So we are studying about the same things, just in different ways depending on the type of an organism. So we are going to conclude this discussion with an interesting study of photosynthesis and respiration in plants. So we're going to conclude this topic by discussing how a plant survives the process of photosynthesis, or how the amount of carbon dioxide produced by respiration is connected to the amount of carbon dioxide used by photosynthesis. Remember, photosynthesis uses carbon dioxide, respiration produces carbon dioxide, and the plant does both, unlike humans who do only respiration. So this is the diagram. So I'm looking for my pointer. Okay, here it is. So this dotted line here shows the amount of carbon dioxide produced by respiration. So by this it means the amount of carbon dioxide that is in the atmosphere that is produced by respiration. Well, this solid line here, solid curve, is the amount of carbon dioxide that is used by photosynthesis. Here is the progress of time during the day, and here are the volumes of gases. So at 06, there is no much sunlight, so the rate of photosynthesis is low. So the amount of carbon dioxide that plant need for photosynthesis is not that much. Well, the amount of carbon dioxide that has been produced by respiration, that is in the atmosphere, is very high, since there is there's no, the process that are using up carbon dioxide are not that many. Maybe it's people are breathing, but plants are not participating in using up the carbon dioxide. As the day progresses, the amount of photosynthesis increases as the daylight increases, or as the amount of light during the day increases. So the rate of photosynthesis increases, the amount of carbon dioxide that is being used increases, and because of this increase, it means part of the carbon dioxide that has been produced by respiration is going to be used up, so it's going to be decreasing. So it will be decreasing while the amount of photosynthesis increases. Then a point is reached, which is called a compensation point, when they are going to be of the same volume, the amount of carbon dioxide used by photosynthesis and that one which was produced by respiration. So as the day progresses, the amount of carbon dioxide used by photosynthesis is going to be high because of the sunlight. Okay, so this will reduce the amount of carbon dioxide being produced by respiration. Okay, then as the day now goes to the evening, the amount of sunlight decreases, so the rate of photosynthesis, or the amount of carbon dioxide being used by photosynthesis, decreases. This means that the amount of carbon dioxide that has been produced, or that is being produced by respiration, will start increasing since it is not being used that much. A compensation point is going to be reached when they are of the same size. Then after that, the amount of carbon dioxide that is needed by photosynthesis decreases completely up to here. Well, the amount of carbon dioxide that has been produced by respiration and available to humans and other creatures increases. So this is a very good analysis. Take your time to go through it. It can come usually as a single graph so that they test if you understand what happens to the volume of carbon dioxide during respiration and what happens to the volume of carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. So the opposite is also true for oxygen. For oxygen, photosynthesis produces oxygen, while respiration uses up oxygen. So this marks the end of this long topic. Happy solving.